But we can start while they mosey in. So we'll call the meeting to order. This is the Marketing Task Force for February 11th. Roll call, Deborah.
Certainly. Walker.
Here.
Bentley.
Here.
Bollinger is excused. Dowling.
Here.
Color.
Here.
Register.
Here.
Shaw.
Here.
And the board fellows are on their way.
I'm almost here. So you have a copy of the minutes in the packet. Are there any additions or changes? Seeing none, they're approved as submitted. Thank you, Deborah. Residents forum.
Okay, checking online. There are no resident forum speakers in or on their Zoom.
Okay. We are killing enough time. Hello, perfect timing. Welcome. Everybody knows Aya and Pranjali. Good to see you guys.
Oh, maybe on the way out.
It might not be in.
So we just started and we just did roll call. So, but you guys, what, you were sitting on the sidelines. Come on.
You got this.
So Chair's report, I just want to report that the board did approve both the marketing the marketing mission and vision statements as recommended by the task force. So thank you, everybody, for that work, and the board recognized your good work as well. As you know, these are important building blocks on the foundation of what we're doing here for the task force. Rossmore Walnut Creek was viewed as a positive by the board, but at this point in time, only the moving forward with doing business as registration was approved. The board wanted to know more of what impact it might have if it goes beyond that. So, you know, some of the things that we even brought up there was, does MOD remain MOD? Does it become Rossmore Property Management? Does the GRF board become the Rossmore Community Board? Or, you know, how far do these name changes go? So I know Ann is going to do some more work on that.
We are registered. And unfortunately, at the GRF board meeting, I brought up why we needed to do it now was that anybody could go out and buy it. And then I decided since I gave everyone the idea, I better go actually buy it. So it is ours for the next 5 years. Now we just have to decide, again, marketing task force just has to make recommendations for how you want it to be utilized. And then we'll take that to the board and see where it goes from there.
But some positive feedback, which was important. Okay, next up is, we said continued discussion of mission and vision. They're done at this point in time. I must say that some of the board members were concerned, are they set in stone forever? No, they can always be subject to change, but at this point in time, they are finalized. So we need to work on two things. That is values being one. And I would love to see if we could pull together a working group on values. And Ann, did you want to say some things about that?
Quick, short little deal. Just want to talk a little bit about just a reminder of what are the statement of values and what are some examples of that. So a couple of questions that you can ask when you're developing these statement of values. How do these values benefit Rossmore? What do we want our customers to know about us? What makes these values important? Will this send the right message to our consumers, our residents, as well as our prospective and the others who are part of our target audience? How can we be inclusive and relatable to our target audiences through our values? And then when it comes to writing them, they should be short and impactful statements. These aren't long like the mission. And you should use things like verbs and active phrases. So just a couple of examples. Zoom, care, community, customers, company, teammates, selves. You don't get more concise than that. Hilton, hospitality, integrity, leadership, teamwork, ownership, now. And then Hulu goes a little bit more on the phrase end than just single words. We start with the viewer. We think big. We embrace fun. We are one team. We're all hooligans. Kind of cute. So that just gives you a couple of ideas of what the statement of values would look like. Then with the target audience, we've already started to narrow down a little bit as a group what some of those target audiences would be. So just a reminder, prospective residents, adult children of prospective residents, current residents, realtors, staff, and vendors. Do we go beyond that? That's really kind of up to the group to decide. So that was just a quick refresher on those two things before we move forward.
So I think some working group on values would be valuable. It's redundant, but do we have any volunteers that would like to work on that as a group?
I have a question before volunteering or
Okay.
not. And what are the other working groups that we're going to be setting up?
That's a good question. Well, it kind of hypothetically goes through some of them. So target audiences, I think a lot of work has been done in that regard. I think the list that Ann just went through kind of identifies the buckets. Establishing values against those target audiences, I think, is a separate exercise later. Later in the meeting, we're going to be talking about what's the number one priority, what's the low-hanging fruit that we can grab onto and have the most impact in the near term. So there will probably be some working groups with that as well.
Maybe wait till the end then and
Okay,
then divvy up work or something like that?
that sounds good. So I'll just write that we're going to have a values working group. Okay, Kevin.
I want to make a comment about, the board had questions about the word inclusive in either the mission or the value statement.
The vision.
Vision. And I was looking at the city, I think it's today, they're going through their strategic plan for the year, and they used inclusive several times. So,
Oh, cool, yeah. Yeah, it's subject to interpretation, but in the end, I think people saw that that was okay.
And Dwight and I had talked too about, once we have the statement of values, if the word diverse, which seemed to be the one everybody else was getting, if that's part of the statement of values, then that may give you, a more complete picture. It might be easier for them to understand inclusive then.
Any other comments at this point? All right, if not, we'll come back to that in terms of working group on values. So Ann, an update on your domain name,
Okay.
so on.
So let's start, before I get into the SEO audit for Rossmore.com, I want to talk a little bit about, we were exploring the idea of what if we were to buy RossmoreWalnutCreek.com? What's sort of the process? So here's the deal. Somebody was already smart enough to buy them all. Pretty much every version of it. RossmoreWalnutCreek.com, Rossmore-WalnutCreek.com, pretty much every version. So if we wanted to go down this path, we would be looking at needing to get a broker to try to buy back the rights to the name. And I'll tell you right now that when you get involved with a broker and then they try to buy it back, you're probably talking a minimum of $1,500 for whichever one you wanted. You want all three, you might get a deal. You might be able to get it for $4,000 to $5,000, but it would cost you quite a bit of money if we decided we want to get those back. As I've talked about before in the meetings, we have a lot behind Rossmore.com right now. We've had that for so long, and we've got so much power behind that, and so many people who already know what it is, and it's already recognized by Google, all of those things, that even if we were to own RossmoreWalnutCreek.com, we would be redirecting them back to Rossmore.com because you don't want to lose what you've already built up with that website. So I think this is just my recommendation. I think we stay with Rossmore.com and we put all of our eggs in that basket, meaning what can we do to build up SEO, which is search engine optimization. How do we make it so that if you go on Google, Rossmore is the first thing you see if you're typing in things like Walnut Creek Senior Living, Bay Area, even Northern California Senior Living. How do we get to the top? And so what I did after I realized that the group was very interested in going the website route and kind of understanding more, we went back to our web developer and asked them to do an SEO audit so we could see where we're strong, where we're weak, and what sort of recommendations they would make for us to have an impact on the market. So if you'll bear with me, I'm gonna take you through this kind of quickly. I won't do the same long one that they did, but this is some of what they were able to tell us. So first off, we have a domain authority of 36. What that means is that for every search for something like senior living, we are coming in the top 36. Could we be higher? Yes, we could be a lot higher on that one. Referring domains, 872, that's really good. Now, a lot of those are realtors because a lot of the real estate companies are sending folks to rossmore.com to see what we're all about. Organic monthly traffic is 27,000. I'll tell you, when I started 6 years ago, our organic traffic was 5,000 a month. So we have done a lot of work to try to get more people to come to the website. Oops, too fast. This is a quick look at our traffic overview, and you can see that, again, we put in a lot of effort in the last 2 years to really drive more traffic to our website. We do things like we're updating our pages more frequently. We are updating breaking news, sending a lot of people to breaking news. And so that's why you see sort of that big spike that's happened. This is a quick look at some of our keyword ranking when they're typing in our keywords, how they're able to find us. And again, our website has about 163 keywords that are in the first, second, or third position. It's pretty good, but I'd like us to be closer to 300 or 400. And obviously the 3,118 keywords that are down to 11 and 50, those are things like people who are looking for the pools or the event center. We do have a lot of keywords on our website. And as we've talked about in the past, we're not just for prospective residents, we're also for the residents. So right now we have that dual personality. It's why we have so many keywords. These are our top 10 keywords that are driving our highest traffic. Rossmore Walnut Creek, again, we'd already sort of made that shift over to what we thought was the brand anyway. So that's why you're seeing pretty much all of those in the top 3. Rossmore Bay Area, that's the one that we've been working pretty hard on the last 2 years because we were trying to expand out our reach. Golden Rain Foundation, which I know we're trying to walk away from, but that's still a big one that people are looking for. And then one of the things I thought was interesting was Rossmore Community at 390. We had actually not done much work behind the word community, but there might be something to that one. These are the top 10 most viewed pages. The What We Offer, the real estate home information page, that's where we are trying to send our prospective residents to. So that's one, again, we put a lot of emphasis behind. That's also one of our biggest revenue generators for the digital space. We do sell ads on that page. It don't want to reveal how much, but it generates a good amount of money for us. And then mutuals, again, a lot of people are going there because that's where they're finding things like the agendas and the CC&Rs. The clubs and organizations, we have a page where you can go on and search by the type of club or the actual club's name. And that's how you can find the contact information and the websites for the clubs. And residents, that's like a catch-all. That could be recreation, that could be information about insurance. That one's kind of got just about everything under it. Transportation, there's quite a bit. That's why that's so high. And GRF is the Golden Rain Foundation page. That's where, again, you see things about our policies, our rules, who's on the board, etc. So it doesn't really surprise me that those are our top ones. Breaking news at number 8, I'd like to work on getting that a little higher because that really, I think, should have more traffic to it. But nothing here really surprised us when we did the audit because those are pages that we are consistently trying to drive traffic to. Traffic acquisition, we're getting a lot of it from organic search. That's like Google and Yahoo and Bing. Direct, those are people who are directly typing rossmore.com into their browser and going straight to. 70,000 is high, but for us, not so much because I think most people in Rossmore know rossmore.com is their website. Referral, we do have some groups that we work with, like 55 Places and Seniorly. So they do have refer out links that will draw people to our site. The organic social was a little bit surprising to me just because we have done absolutely nothing to try to drive traffic with social right now. So we're probably getting that either from residents or from realtors. So this is the part where I'm going to go through it kind of quickly because these are some of the problems that they discovered with SEO and some of the things that we can really work on. They found 2,538 on-page SEO issues that are related to things like page structures and URLs. And part of that is we do have a complicated URL system. We do parent pages where everything either falls under pretty much what's offered or residence, and that extends out our URLs. It's something, if we were ever to redo the website, I would like to scrap that so that we don't have that very complicated structure. I think it should be much faster for people to be able to get to things. There were quite a few broken links. Now they're not. Javier has already gone through and taken care of a lot of this missing H1 heading. So H1 is a field that you see on each web page. It's basically your title or your headline. We were missing quite a few of these. That's another thing that Javier has worked on cleaning up. H1 is the first thing that Google is looking at when it's searching. A lot of duplicate H1 headings. It's one of those where we get something and we're like, oh, we don't think this is on the website. We can't find it, so we put it on and then find out later, oops, we did have a page for that. So that's another one we've cleaned up. This was a good audit to do. So images missing the alt text. Alt text is another way that Google can search and find your website. And it's not something that we've done in the past. We've just kind of thrown a photo up and haven't worried about it. Now, as we're putting photos on, we're going into the alt text box and adding things like Rossmore Walnut Creek so that people are looking for that are able to find us through the photos. Missing meta descriptions, same kind of thing. It's like a little blurb that says, here's what this page is all about. We had not put a lot of emphasis on meta descriptions, and there's certain pages now that we have, especially that top one. Our employment page, we really want to be able to draw people in who are looking to get a job, and maybe with Rossmore or with a senior community, we should have more SEO value behind that. So we've done some work with some of these pages. Duplicate page titles, same kind of thing. This is a lot of housekeeping things that we didn't know, but an audit was able to tell us the sorts of things we can clean up on our own without needing to go to a web developer. Our web manager is able to do a lot of this stuff. There were some things like the title tags being too long and too short. I've been in this business a long time. I've been doing digital a long time, and I had no idea that you could have one that was too short.
What is it supposed to be?
They say that it should be between 60 and 80 characters, and we had some that were 40 to 45. We had a lot that were 120. So we're getting a little better at kind of parceling that down. Okay, so this is essentially what their recommendations were. Again, some of the things: reduce the length of the title tags to 50 to 60 characters, shorting the meta description. All of these things you're seeing here, these are things we can control. And so we're already doing because we have the staff to do it. But they also got very deep into social media. So they started with the fact that they found 2 Facebook pages, but none of them looked like official pages for Rossmore. So the Rossmore Walnut Creek, we did actually kind of snatch that up a little while ago when we started using the website and doing more advertising. We just didn't want anyone to get it. So we got it, we just didn't do anything with it. So we do already have now all of Rossmore Walnut Creek for Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Snapchat. We're all over the place. Javier knew ones I didn't even know existed. So Javier went and locked them all down. We've done nothing with them right now. It's really going to depend on how far the recommendations that the task force makes and the board decides as to whether or not we really want to utilize these. What they're saying is that we should. Right now, again, the type of content that we're publishing on Facebook is pretty small. Promoting some community events, announcing the availability of the newspaper, some creative activities. Really, all that Javier's been doing with these is posting like once a week so that nobody comes along and inactivates our social media accounts. This one also was ours. This actually was the recreation department had this one, and they kind of just let it go dormant. But now we do have it back in our control. And again, Javier's doing occasional posts just to keep it live for us. We were an unclaimed Yelp business listing. Yelp used to actually charge you to claim it, and apparently long story short, the courts told them they couldn't do that. So they had to open it up, and now anyone can claim their own business. So we have gone on and claimed our own business. And so these are some of their social media ideas. What they're saying is if you really want to drive as a search engine optimization to your website, you have to have a social media presence. And these were some of the recommendations that they made. Things like Life at Rossmore Stories, where you could spotlight residents or spotlight staff. We could do virtual tours and showcases of the amenities so that we could, highlight our facilities, what we have to offer. They talked about the fact that a lot of communities do this thing called neighborhood walkthroughs, which really allows you to show the potential of not just what Rossmore has to offer, but also Walnut Creek, because that's another part of our draw. And now it's part of our name. And then educational content for seniors and families. This doesn't have to be generated directly by us. We could also be referring out to people we might partner with. Like we do things like the Optimum Wellness Series, those kinds of things. Counseling has partnerships because then you're interconnecting with their social media as well. You put them on us, they're going to like it and share it. And now you've started to do your global reach to get a little bit further. They talked about events and activities promotion. Right now, we do all of ours pretty much through the newspaper, sometimes through rossmore.com, but we've done very little through social media. They see a lot of people being driven by seasonal content and holiday celebrations, especially lights, which isn't really something we do in Rossmore. But again, there's probably enough out there. And did you know post? I actually like this idea so much I might steal it for the newspaper, but just kind of sharing some interesting facts about the history or notable residents who live here, unique amenities that we have that other places might not. That really can become a huge draw for us. We have so many clubs and organizations, we should play that up. Testimonials and success stories, if you wanna counter things like, because sometimes Yelp, places like that, you get the negative reviews because pretty much the only people who review are the people who are unhappy. So how do you combat that? We go find the people who are happy to be here and share those testimonials. Family member feedback. Again, we've talked a lot about how one of our target audiences are those adult children. So go to the family members, get their feedback, incorporate that into the social media. Q&As, ask us anything. That one scares the heck out of me because it's like, who answers all of that? Probably my department, but it's an interesting idea because you do hear a lot where people say, I don't know this, I didn't know this. So since we put the All Around Rossmore guide together, we actually have the answers to a lot of these questions. So we probably should have some sort of forum where they can come and ask and we answer. It's all about engagement. That's how social media works. You want to engage them as much as possible. And so part of that too is things like polls and surveys. Could you do photo contests? Right now we do scenes around Rossmore in the newspaper. We probably get 30 to 40 photos a week. We open it up and allow that to be something with social media. How do you want to, our mission is about the beauty and nature in Rossmore, right? That's a great way to showcase it is by putting those photos out there.
It looks like you've got probably about a half a dozen people lined up for your social media staff.
Oh, yeah. I will say right now, as they're going through this, I'm like, boy, if I had 3 more people, we could be doing this now. But as you can see, it's a lot. It is a lot what they're saying. And I'm going to speed through because the keyword
And you
part's
really
not
have
as
to keep up with
important.
it. It's not something you can do
Right.
at once.
That's actually the biggest problem, right? Is
Who's they?
I'm sorry, KHA is our web developer.
Okay.
So they put together, they manage sort of the backside of rossmore.com. So if we need to make big code changes, Javier and I don't have that skill level, so we go to our web developers. So we've been sort of merrily going along, building up the 2 sides of the website. Here's our perspective, here's our residents. This was the first time we said, okay, dig in and tell us from the backside, how well are we doing with the world outside the gates, right? And this is where we found out we have a lot of work to do if we really want to be competitive with the other ones. So the next thing they talked about is that really we should have a blog as well. Having a blog would be a great opportunity to again sell the community and tell them about the great things of living here, the benefits, health and wellness activities that we have here, a whole bunch of different types of blog topics. Again, great idea. We don't have anybody to do it. So they came up with some plans, game plans, what they thought some things we could do and maybe some things that we would need to put a lot more investment into. And it's things like, again, the social media profile creation and setup, which we have done. Google My Business and other business profiles, we've also done this. And then the keyword, the research and strategy development, we're working on that. That is a goal for this year, but it's gonna take a little while because there's a lot involved in finding out what are those really relevant keywords to get people to the website. The other part of that too is I'm a little leery about sort of pushing that out because again, right now that website has a dual personality. So if you're pushing prospective residents, I really only want to do the what's offered pages for them so they don't get mired down in the mutuals page or the GRF page and then they're like, whoa, too much stuff. Then they talked about the SEO optimization, which again, Javier is working on. But now we're getting into the initial content strategy, doing things like identifying blog topics, creating an outline. We have not gone down this road. We have not gone down a full competitor analysis yet, although we are looking at what some of the other websites are doing for marketing with the actual website itself. Just because that's a lot of work. And I don't want to, for example, start going down the road of coming up with a game plan for blogs if our task force says, we don't want to put our marbles in the blog basket. We want to be over here in this other basket instead. Then we just wasted all this time. So we really want to focus right now on the things we know we're going to do and take our direction going forward. And then they came up with some ongoing and monthly activities. So things like monthly SEO updates, which we can do to a degree. But when we start getting into the rest of this, these content creations, the blogs, the social media posting and engagement, that's going to require more staff. That's just plain and simple. Javier is one person who does a lot for us. And he's great at it, but if we're going to go down the road of doing content creation and social media, we need an actual person to do that, somebody who will own that so that we are not doing it half-hearted. The worst thing you can do is be half-hearted on something.
Is it possible some of this could be done by volunteers from the community?
So that's kind of an interesting little deal.
Like, for example, Bill Leary's column on aging. I mean, he's somebody that could do a blog very well.
Right, but who puts it on? Who puts it online? So it's really about management at that point. Yes, we would absolutely go into the community and tap those resources and tap them really hard. There's a lot of what we do with Rossmore News that you could repopulate over there, but every little bit, every little post you do can be 5 to 10 minutes all by itself if it's quick. So you really have to have somebody that can manage that.
Inside.
Yeah. And so again, this is more of what they're suggesting that we can do on a monthly basis if we really wanted to drive more search to the website. And then execution, this is where you get into what would it cost? So they were talking about sort of the monthly oversight activities. They were going on the idea we could have interns do all of this work. Well, as it turns out, you actually can't in this state have an intern doing a job that somebody else on your staff is doing without paying them the equivalent. So we couldn't just go out there and say, we're going to give you $100 a week to do this. We'd actually have to pay them within that market band because that's how we've set up and structured the rest of our staff. Now, if you created a position that didn't exist and then wanted to do an intern, you could do it that way. But again, you're going to have to pay them what the market value is, unless we were able to connect with, say, a university who had a program where maybe it was half credit, half payment, then you would. Now, here's the flip side. If you do that, then moi is responsible for making sure that all the paperwork gets filled out as they're going through this process. So you're still looking at a staff commitment, even with an intern that might be a little less expensive. And when you factor in my salary, it might be cheaper to just actually hire somebody. So they were talking about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Elon Musk seems to have very talented teenagers who are running the government right now. So maybe you can spare a couple.
Maybe. Okay, so the monthly package of what the idea they were talking about, where they would be able to sort of help us with some of this, especially the backlink support and the check-ins, would be $550 now. Honestly, I have that in my budget. I can cover having our web developer help us with this part. But again, we would have to have an intern or a entry-level type staff person helping with the actual, some of the content creation part of this. If we didn't, if we wanted our web developer to fully handle the creation for us, they could do it for $1,250 a month. Which would include things like developing the blog articles and reorganizing some things for us. It's an interesting idea, and the one thing I will say is KHA is primarily based out of India. So my only concern is there's been many mornings that I've had to get up at 5 o'clock to have a chat with my web developers. I just wouldn't want to be in a position where I had to be up every day at 5 a.m. having a chat with my staff members. But again, this is sort of what they put together for us, just so that we could get a sense and an idea of some of the things that we could do if we wanted to go down the route of really wanting to work on SEO. Which probably leads us to the next question. The next question is, what exactly do we want to do with the websites? I know that we've talked a little bit about this, but not quite as in depth as maybe now's the time to go into this. Do we want to continue this dual personality?
No, let's not even have that discussion. No, we can. Open to the crowd.
Right.
Yeah.
So the idea is continue on this course as we have it now, which means that we would essentially have 2 SEO plans. One, again, to that what's offered page, still continuing with just the perspectives, and the other to the residents, the residents page part of rossmore.com, and trying to drive there. What I will tell you is we will never rank probably above 25. We just won't, because Google's going to look at us and say fractured personality, because that's what we are. We're a website trying to be a lot of things to a lot of people. The reality is myrossmore.com exists. It's already our resident portal. We are already looking at ways that we can put more self-service features into it. We can build this out so that it becomes more of your landing spot for the residents. If we continue down that path, and now we really put money and resources behind that and build that out as a actual residence webpage, you could turn rossmore.com into a true marketing website. And if there's interest from the group at looking at what that might entail, I'd be happy to come back in March and show you what some of the other senior communities have done, what a real marketing website would look like. So you'd have a better sense. A little more difficult to show you what a resident-only website looks like, because most of these people are behind paywalls and they don't necessarily want you to see everything. But some of our sister properties like Laguna Woods have agreed to kind of show me around and let me take a few screenshots, not everything, because some of the stuff is proprietary, but I could also give you a smaller peek about what an actual resident portal could look like if there's interest from the group.
So you're saying Laguna Woods already has 2 separate ones? They have
They
a
do.
marketing one and they have one for the residents?
That's correct.
Because ours is combined inside the
Yes, it is.
same one.
Yes. Laguna Woods they just finished a complete overhaul of their marketing website, and they have built a custom resident portal.
But on our rossmore.com side, which is the one that everybody can see, we also have access to a lot of governance and other things that we do for everybody in the world to see.
That's correct.
When that should really be where the resident, that should all be moved over to the resident
That's
section, right?
correct.
So we don't have I really like the idea of having just a marketing, rossmore.com marketing side.
Yeah.
And then as you become a resident, you go to, because what do we need to see marketing for anyway? I mean, after we're here,
Right.
we need my Rossmore, and that it becomes, because it is kind of confusing when you got to go to one, you got to get on this, then you have to sign into it so that you can get on the backside to be able to see some other things you're doing and stuff. And most of it is play stuff on the other side. What I mean is, it's the gym, it's golf, it's play stuff, you know, excursions and things like that on the second side. I think some of that governance stuff should be over there too, because that is all about Rossmore,
Yep.
not for everybody in the world to see.
Agreed.
And we can get into some of those details. Mike, did you want to say something? I didn't know
I
if your
just
hand
think
was
it's, I
going.
think we can't do without 2. We
Yeah.
gotta split them.
Yeah.
So I do want to be sure everybody understands upfront. If we're looking at a real marketing website, we will need to do we would have to request capital funds to do that, to actually redesign and build it. Again, That's out of my pay view. I can't do that. But there are a lot of really good companies and, you
And
know.
we should do that. We absolutely should do that. We need a marketing website that is top rated, the best, the current, and hire the best people to do it, in my opinion.
And keep it current.
And keep it current.
Yeah.
I think in today's world, I mean, we are a digital world. I mean, I think it's great that we have a newspaper, you know, but the reality is that digital is, I don't know what percentage, maybe 90% of communication. It is Rossmore in the digital world. And it has to be equally managed as the property that we
Yes.
have.
And-
It's part of our identity.
Let's see if some other people have some
Okay.
comments and then we'll come back. Linda, you're shaking your head, yes.
I do have some comments on that, just from a user standpoint. I continually send people to it, just continually. Prospects, new people that have moved in, and it is unwieldy large, and so they give up. So if we did have something that was much more flashy, and gives information to prospective buyers, and then more meaty for people who move in, that'd be good. But there are quite a few people, and I don't know, I think it's the nature of Northern California, they're very sophisticated. So the moment you give them one thing, they want the rest. They'll say, well, what is that governance thing? What is the foundation? How does it work? Who's gonna tell me I can't rent my house? I mean, they get into the meat quick. So I don't wanna see a portal locked off, because I do deal with a lot of those with people.
Yeah, so one of the things we're thinking, envisioning with My Rossmore would be that you have a front-facing portion of the website, and then you'll have a click here that will get you to your service pieces of it. And that could include things like, if you don't want the agendas and the minutes to be out there, you can put it behind. But I agree, you want to leave the CCNRs out. You want to leave the policies out, especially because the number 2 or 3 question I get is, can I have a pet? And it's like, yes, how many? Depends on your mutual. And then you got to send them down the rabbit hole. So I hear exactly what Linda's saying. So that's actually something we were already thinking about, that you would start on a public facing page, but you would reach a point where you want golf tee times, you want to book an excursion, you want to do a class, you want to see some of those mutual documents. No, now you got to be a resident. Now you have to log in.
There also might be, I'll call it a hosted portion. For example, when we were moving in, we wanted to know the financial standing of the mutuals that we were considering. We want to make sure that they weren't in debt or something. Just the other day, there's a Clayton retirement home that is going belly up. And it's like, you wanted to know that, and I think we wanted to know, there's one other thing that I was thinking and it went out of my brain.
Reserves.
Yeah, the whole financial
Yeah.
thing, but there was another thing that we wanted to know as well.
And
But anyway,
deep within those policies and CCNRs are barbecue information. That's so important.
It is.
In California.
but we could pull some of that out with a frequently asked questions as well.
We could, but there's
So-
23 HOAs,
Right.
and they all have different
They all have
policies for
different-
dogs, for animals, and for barbecue.
I still think you could probably, without having to go through the whole, well, anyway, that's a whole nother thing.
But I mean, you know what I mean?
I
Don't put it behind a password.
And that's why I'm saying, right, that's why we already were saying to ourselves, you really do sort of need that front facing one. Plus, not all the residents are gonna want to click in and go find out what's the pool times, right? So there's certain things you don't necessarily have to put behind a firewall. That's we were already doing this because we were already looking at rebranding My Rossmore. So we've been looking at a lot of different resident portals. And that's what I was quickly seeing is, there's a lot of this information they did not put behind. They left it out front. And there's a lot of value behind that. So again, and that's one of those where we would have that broader look at how everybody's done it and come up with sort of that hit list of what really should be public versus what should be behind the firewall.
Ted, and then Mike.
So I think that the marketing one should just be we gotta market Rossmore. And I get it where somebody's gonna want more questions. But we should be able to have something that would say, if you would like to know more about, then they click on this, and it could be a list of realtors that they could talk to. And those realtors would be they click on this, whatever this one is, and then it comes up. They can make contact with them and they can do the deeper talk. I don't know that we have to have everything. We just need to market.
Yeah, that's why I was suggesting, Ted, if you would like, next month, I will bring back some samples, some examples of communities who've done it really well. So you can see what a real marketing website looks like, instead of just saying, well, we want this and this from rossmore.com. Start from scratch, look and see how they've all done it. And then we can start having that conversation about if this is where we want to go, it sounds like it is, then you can start talking about the particulars. What is it that we like about these competitors' websites so that we get a sense for how we want to build ours out? That will also help me then to go find, okay, who developed the websites we liked, to start getting price estimates so we know what it would cost.
Mike?
You mentioned how much Laguna Woods spent on theirs. How much was it?
I'm not gonna get in trouble. This is a public meeting. It was a lot. It was above 50K, 50,000.
So if I can try to bring this in, I think what we're looking at are two sites, marketing and myrossmore.com. Both of them should be state-of-the-art, should be absolutely fabulous. Find out what we need to do to get
Okay.
that, in my opinion. I also think we need to get Rossmore, Walnut Creek domain names. Let's find out. If it's $100,000, we're probably not gonna do it.
So
But
here's the problem. You will have to go to the board to request. The broker is going to want a flat fee right off the bat to even go and try to negotiate this. I believe it's around $500. So we would need approval for the 500 to
Really?
go and ask. Yeah,
Really?
really. I'm not
Really?
Is that not something somebody can just approach these people that
Yeah,
own it
we'll
themselves?
find that.
You need a broker?
You don't necessarily, but again, if you really want to know what the price is, they're going to work with brokers. Most of them are going to work with brokers. So a lot of these, because I already tried going back through the WHO registration, and a lot of these, they're companies that have gone out and bought all of these up, right?
Not individuals.
And they don't want to deal with you. They'll tell you, go see my broker. So I do know that the one that I think we would want, which is Rossmore Walnut Creek with no hyphens, is owned by an LLC. So we're gonna be, I'll ask the question, but I'm gonna tell you right now, they're gonna send us back to the broker.
Do we agree that we should explore that and find it? Okay,
Yes, you need a straw vote. That's a yes from me.
Okay. I also think, and I saw it on the Instagram, of Rossmore WC, because Rossmore Walnut Creek is a mouthful. And a lot of us will start shortening it. Rossmore WC, I think, is also an important name to have.
You're killing me. We're gonna own
Are
every
we
web,
here-
we're gonna own every
Are we here to
domain name in
brainstorm
America.
or?
That's
No.
fine. I'll find out that one too.
Any other thoughts on domain names?
So one thing about the domain name, rossmore.com hit pretty high on the list, right?
Yes.
For coming up. But as soon as you come to it, everything on the site says Rossmore Walnut Creek on the site. It's all over the place on the front of the page, because I'm looking at it right now. Rossmore.com got you in. And then, and so when I'm thinking about typing Rossmore, Walnut Creek, California.com, that's a lot of typing. Rossmore.com is right to the thing, and then when you come to the page, we start our marketing thing right, just like it is right here with all the stuff.
So just to be clear, Ted, we would keep Rossmore.com. Everything would still live on
But I'm
Rossmore.com.
saying,
If
my
you
question
have-
is, do we need that?
Well,
The Walnut Creek piece, because that's a
so
lot of
that's just
typing.
if you're interested in doing that and you're trying to market out with Rossmore Walnut Creek, and somebody was to go in and start typing Rossmore Walnut Creek, and then it pops up, rossmorewalnutcreek.com, and they click on it, right now it takes them to do you want to own this site? Click here. Versus if we owned it, then we would redirect. We would set up a redirect, so it would take everybody from that website to rossmore.com. There are a lot of places out there who do this. If you go apple.com, try apple.org, try apple.us, they own all of them. So doesn't matter what you type, it will automatically take you to apple.com. So there's a lot of businesses out there who want to own that full brand. It's just, it can get expensive because especially if you're looking at Rossmore Walnut Creek, how far do you want me to go with this? You want it to just be Rossmore Walnut Creek, Rossmore-Walnut Creek, Rossmore-Walnut-Creek? I mean, that's what I'm saying. There's lots of iterations, so how far do you want me to go? Do you just want me to look at
I
Rossmore,
think
Walnut
what
Creek or
your,
more?
one of the things that your KHA could do is to look at how often those are searched on.
Mhm.
Because I think if you do just Rossmore Walnut Creek, Google in particular is not gonna send them to a dead website.
Right.
So if you just did, if they just said Rossmore Walnut Creek, because I just did rossmorewalnutcreek.com and it's, it's parked at
Mhm.
GoDaddy.
Yep.
Which I'm sure you already know, and they can own that forever as long as they keep paying the annual fee, which is minimal.
Mhm.
But Google will never send anybody there unless you specifically say .com, and I don't know that.
Yeah,
many people
it's only
do
if
that.
you're going up in the actual URL bar and you start typing Rossmore Walnut Creek, it will send you to the dead page, yes. It will send you to the
You
GoDaddy.
don't have to put the .com, I thought
No,
you just had to put.
because I tried that, I just Rossmore Walnut Creek and it automatically put .com and then you
Okay.
click on it and boom, you're right there. So that is, I will say, that's like probably, if you're looking at just one, that would be the one to really look at. But again, I'm happy to look at as many iterations as you want, it just could get
Well, we
pricey.
Start with one.
Yeah, but I would also go for the WC. I think the two are adequate at this point in time, but
So I have this is just for clarification. I did Rossmore Walnut Creek, all one word. And it came up to rossmore.com. Then I did Rossmore space Walnut Creek space. Are we not supposed to be doing this? And the space Walnut Creek, and it came up and I click on it and I go to rossmore.com. I go to our website. So I put it in 3 ways now. And each one of them took me to the top of the list and get into rossmore.com. So my question is, I get the investigation and I'm for the investigation on it, but for the amount of money, maybe we don't need it because.
So here's the thing to know about Google, right? It is tracking all of your habits and it says, oh, Ted looks at Rossmore all the time. He must mean rossmore.com. Ask somebody who lives in Alabama or Kentucky to start typing in Rossmore Walnut Creek. It's not going to give you the same search. It's not going to give them the same search results.
So you mean the site knows me?
The site knows you. It's always watching what you're doing.
I mean, the inherent brand value of owning it is important because somebody else can start up something and use it.
Yeah.
And buy it and use it and you can't control it.
right.
So I mean, you don't wanna give
Yeah.
your name up,
Okay.
you don't
Really
want somebody
important.
to start a porn site.
Once again, we're
You know, I
telling
mean-
everybody in the grand public, hey, go do this. So now we really need to find out what this is
Yeah,
gonna cost.
But you should own and control your brand.
No, you're absolutely right.
So here,
Absolutely
Anne has her assignments, but here are the assignment that we need to be thinking about. What should be on the marketing website? What should be on myrossmore.com? Thinking of our target audiences, we need to come up with those components.
Well, I think it's a good idea to look at already, just instead of starting with a white piece of paper. I mean, we might have some ideas, then people could, we could all put our ideas and stuff, but I think looking at because other people have gone through this exercise, so why not stand on the shoulders of giants?
Good
you
Woods
know?
has a nice video.
I agree with that, although I think there's some brainstorming that should happen. And we can get into this further when we talk about goals and objectives, but, taking a look at rossmore.com, one task force just looking at the monster that is rossmore.com and saying, this should be on my Rossmore, this should be accessible to realtors, that sort of thing I think is valuable. Thinking about some of the ideas that we already talked about in our first session was like short videos on the marketing website, introducing people to the Valley. Ambassador program, that's offline, obviously, but serviced online. We need to start thinking about those concepts. My other concern here, and I'm getting towards the end of the meeting too, but we have a May deadline. And while February seems like it's still early, it's not. So we can't put off too much till to March and April when we need a deliverable by May. And we need to be thinking about what that deliverable is. But we're not going to go to that discussion quite yet. What else should we be thinking about in terms of these websites? Any other comments? So when we come back to working group volunteers, I think we'll add 2 marketing website, and I'm gonna call it myrossmore.com, but it's more or less taking a look at rossmore.com and what should be behind the velvet rope. All right, any other comments in this area? Yes, Pranjali.
Yeah, I would just add that it sounds like what we are looking at from other sites is how it's structured, because that's the part that's confusing. But it sounds like most folks have an idea of what they would have liked to see or what they would like to see from these. So maybe it would be important to think about components, forget about structure. And then once we look at what other sister properties have done, then that would tell us where we want to put those components. I think thinking about the components early is probably a good idea.
I think that is specifically what we should be doing. Thank you for that. Okay, so where are we here? I think we're done with that issue. Let's go to survey results and then we'll go to goals and objectives. We've got about half an hour.
Okay. All right, so this is the survey that just ended on Sunday. I will say, you probably saw in the packet, I also included some of the email comments that we got, and there were quite a few people who were unhappy about the fact that we didn't let them comment. So they commented in the emails instead. So they're there so you can see them. When we were looking at what are the 5 main reasons, or up to 5 main reasons why folks moved to Rossmore, amenities and clubs was the little bit of a runaway on that one. And then you had quite a few that were really bunched together. Let me back up too. 885 surveys went out. It wasn't every single new resident. It was every new resident who had an email address in the member records system that was correct. There were a couple that were like a .com that was missing an M or something like that. And I, sorry, did not have time to go back and really scrutinize all 880 or 1,000 that we started with. So 885 went out. And we got 223 back. So for the record, most of your surveys get between 12 and 13%. So being almost a quarter of them back is really very good. So again, back to the 5 top reasons: proximity to family, security and safety, social interaction, and low maintenance lifestyle were also very high on the list. The variety of housing options was your low one, as well as the age-related services.
Any comments on those responses? Not surprising, right, Kevin?
I was surprised at how low proximity to Walnut Creek was. Because the other communities are all away from things, which I think is a huge negative, but maybe other people don't care about. I thought what was the one? Low maintenance lifestyle. I mean, that is a unique thing to us. Everybody else has their own houses. A lot of our other competitors, which that was another big plus for me. But some people like to tinker. Like, I have friends that are like, oh, I don't want to give them a house. I want a garden. I want to, okay.
Not for you.
Not for you. Not for me.
As we get into the, what comes next for this survey, I mean, my general idea is that, I think we have enough to go on. But one thing that from a marketing perspective, we start getting into the target markets and stuff, is it would be interesting to see the juxtaposition of certain answers to others. So for example, we get to the, how did you, did you consider other places? It would be very interesting to see whether or not people who looked at other places have different answers than those that were considering only Rossmore.
And the Survey Monkey account that we have will allow you to do that sort of thing. So as much, I mean, if we want to start parceling to do comparisons, absolutely, just tell me what reports you'd like. I can run all of them. The spreadsheet is very, very hard to navigate because we had so many very, very long answers that the spreadsheet ends up like this. So trying to look at it that way is really, very hard. It's much better if you say, I'd like to know how the folks who answered this way, what the answers were to this one, and run them as general individual reports.
Okay, so that's the easiest way.
It's the easiest way. Otherwise, if you're, like I said, trying to look at the spreadsheet, because I tried to do that yesterday and it hurts your head. There's so much there. So the second question was regarding your monthly coupon, which of the following items all are included in the coupon's cost. Do you value? Please check all that you care about. And they did. There's quite a few of them that had multiples. So again, we're back to the outside maintenance of the home, the building and property insurance, the Comcast and Xfinity cable. It's kind of interesting as you hear a lot of people go, I'm ready to cut cable. And it's like, well, not everybody.
Not in Rossmore.
Yep.
Such
Your
a-
water, sewage, trash collection, your amenities, which that included everything. That was golf, fitness. We didn't break that one down. So the community facilities, public safety, property management services, those were all your really high, fairly high ones. Transportation was pretty low, and some of the other services were also on the lower end. And then the last one, the mutuals 1, 2, and 8 are the only ones that are co-op. So again, the number of respondents, that's actually probably pretty close to all of the actual co-op respondents. Check that one. It's based on the addresses I was seeing.
So these results sort of tie into what we know of value when we pay the coupon. It's nice to see this reflected in these responses. And that's a great marketing opportunity to reinforce that, just for prospective as well as for current residents.
So our third question, what other senior living communities did you seriously consider before choosing Rossmore? Please select all that apply. Most of them were, nope, just Rossmore. There were some that were other East Bay communities, a few that were Northern California, some beyond. But a lot of them really, they said that they just were looking at us. 144, it's a pretty high number.
But
That was a
doesn't that tie
surprising one.
into proximity, excuse me, doesn't that tie into proximity of family?
Yes, probably.
You know, because they're gonna look at what is a close community that they could live in to the family, so.
But what
it's
was
too much.
interesting is, I mean, there are still other senior communities in Walnut Creek, in the area, in the Bay Area. And basically what they're saying by saying none is, they weren't even, I mean, they would have checked other East Bay, right? If they had looked at other places. They fixated on Rossmore. Rossmore was it for them.
Kathleen, you had something.
Oh, I was just gonna say, that was really surprising to me,
Yeah,
that
me
that
too.
was that
If
high.
you got a better
That was my most
website, it'd be
And
higher.
That's true. You don't have to do anything, go home. That was where I was thinking that it still was like 40% that we're looking at others, which is high.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not nothing. And that's where I was thinking that do the people who answered those questions, regardless of what
Yeah.
they considered, were they different in some way than people who looked at only Rossmore?
And we can I'll run that for you.
That
So
would
we
be,
can
I
find
think,
out.
from a marketing perspective, because I think for the realtors, knowing that would be useful.
Yeah, I think, I agree with you on the ones who had a family close by, big number, probably didn't look anywhere else. But the other three below it, they chose us, even though they look in, so you're going from Southern California all the way up to us, which means they were just looking for maybe a California property. And that is a big number. That would be interesting. What was their deciding factor to make them pick us out of everything else they were looking at? That could drive a lot of information for us, I think.
Kevin?
I think we probably didn't work, like I looked at Palm Springs. I didn't look at other senior living communities. I just looked at living in Palm Springs. So maybe we just, what other communities did you seriously consider as opposed to specifically senior living communities?
Good point.
The next question may shed some light.
How did you first become interested in Rossmore? Please select one answer that best applies. Interestingly enough, a lot of people didn't, they kept trying to do 2. I had like 7 or 8 people say, it won't let me select multiples. It's because it's 1. But anyway, known about Rossmore for a long time, that's your brand name. That's branding right there. And it's already showing us that Rossmore has a lot of value behind the name. So really working on that brand could probably increase this even more. Friends live here and recommended the community. Not surprising, a lot of people talk other people into moving in here, so that wasn't surprising. Adult child or other family member, we've now started to understand that adult kids are having a big role in who gets to move in here. But it was a lot of, part of what I was surprised, was the lower number with the website and the realtor. So that's kind of where you're doing a lot of your marketing right now. And it's telling us there's a tremendous amount of growth in that area to be able to draw more. You're probably never gonna have to worry too much with the friends who live here or the adult children recommending it because they're already invested in the location or Rossmore itself. But that marketing is where you go get the people who have not heard about Rossmore before. So again, that's where your growth really stands.
I'm wondering if this sort of indicates that people who are able to see Rossmore are kind of self-selecting. So if folks are looking at the Rossmore website and going to a realtor but don't have the opportunity to tour or don't have videos, that could be why there's such a big discrepancy as well, and it may not even be related to having a friend live here.
Yeah.
So that probably tells us that those are components to think about.
The other thing about the website and realtors is that we ask this question, how'd you first hear it? So if you think about the journey to buy, maybe a friend said, you really ought to think about Rossmore. My sister moved there and she really likes it. Then somebody goes online. And so the friend would be what they would probably check.
Right.
But if they looked online and they're going like, oh yeah, this looks really good, I want to learn more, then they're going to continue on.
Good point.
Or they could look at it and go, not for me, for whatever reason.
Any other comments? Okay.
Before moving into Rossmore, would you have appreciated additional information on any of the following topics? Please select all that apply. Interestingly enough, I think this was the one, only 174 people answered this of the 223. So it was the least answered by the full group. Cost of living at Rossmore, that's not really surprising. That's high up there. But it goes back to what Linda was saying. Rossmore's governing structure, that surprised me, that number of people. So it goes to what you're saying. We need to somehow make that part of the public space so that more people are able to see that, to get to it.
That work chart I mentioned.
Or an org chart, exactly. It's that kind of thing.
GRF,
It's
mods,
to try to understand, because it is very complicated. And then you see some like community facilities, and we actually do pretty good job on the website with that, and it's a pretty big part of the video. And then on the lower end, services related to aging. I think what you're seeing too, a lot of the folks that are moving in here are in your 55 to 65 type demographic. They're not quite as interested in being reminded that they're aging. So I think that's probably why that one's a little bit lower throughout the survey. But I was actually more surprised by the number of people who didn't put any of this. So either they felt like they had all the information they needed, or maybe we missed a category. I don't know. I was just surprised at the number that only 174 answered this question. So.
I think once you're living here, you probably have access to most of this information and you know where to find it.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments on this one? Linda?
Honestly, I have clients that from all over in every sort of category. They're very, very old, they're very, very sick, or they're very, very young. They're barely old enough to get in here. And they really are just focused on what they're focused on. They just are. And so it probably relates, the answers probably relate to that. They don't know stuff. They don't know a lot of stuff.
Yep.
They come in, they ask me, and after they move in, I answer lots and lots and lots of questions. So
Therapist.
And how long have you lived at Rossmore? The majority of the emails that went out were the 1 to 2 years, or 1 to 3 years. So I'm not really surprised that the 3+ years was small on this. We were really weighted to the other two. And it seemed to be pretty balanced between just having moved here the last year or having lived here in the last 3.
Something that we should keep in mind when we look at these results is that these are new residents. So we shouldn't assume that that's true for everybody who lives here.
Yes, we decided this was a small data collection. We really just wanted to know the folks in the last 3 years, what their thoughts were on this one, so. That's it for the survey.
Current age? Did we do current age?
Yes,
Why did that show up in the survey summary?
Yeah, it's you.
68.
So 70 to 79 being the biggest.
It just didn't show up on the.
People over 90, that's a
50, yeah,
68.
50%.
I was shocked at 25% or over 80. I would not recommend Rossmore for somebody over 80.
I mean,
and brand new.
I would for Waterford.
Oh, Waterford, yeah, I guess, yeah.
I'm looking at Mary because she lives in Waterford. And she loves it. But yeah, not surprising that 70 to 79 being the biggest part of it. 7 people, 50 to 59, that was
Yeah.
kind of surprising.
Let me comment, just part of the reason for doing this was to verify that we were doing the right thing and to look for anything that popped out that we were astonished by or that would cause us to redirect or have us look at the language that we put into the mission and vision. And I think on the good side is, while I think we can learn some additional things, it somewhat verifies what we already know. And I mean, I read through all of the emails, and you got even more comments. Frankly, I didn't see anything in the emails that we didn't already know.
Right.
I mean, that was a good thing between letters to the editor and comments that we all hear from everybody, the same concerns were there. It wasn't like we, suddenly dug up something that, some gotcha or something. So I think that was a positive. We can go forward, I think, with more confidence.
I think also just to add to that the opportunities with the website and realtors is huge. And also with adult children of residents or purchasers, because that's all online. And that's where we need to be. Linda?
Oh, I was reading the other comments. It seemed like food was a huge issue. It's not something that we kind of got that far down in the weeds with, but it seemed like food was.
Isn't there like
You mean in the
food-
email section?
Yeah,
Yeah.
their food was brought up a lot.
You mean
Isn't-
like an
isn't there like a-
opportunity to improve our food and beverage?
Yeah, make it healthier.
And customer
Which is
satisfaction,
on the
I
way.
guess.
Stay tuned for Thursday's planning
Yes.
meeting.
Yes.
And when is the town hall? February 25th.
Yeah.
February
On
25th.
food.
I was gonna say, there is a food thing going on,
food,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Reading about it. It seems like it's taken a long time. It's
Yes,
just like
at the event center.
pickleball.
Kevin.
The other comments were about pickleball.
Yeah,
When is the pickleball town hall gonna be?
that is March 3rd.
March 3rd, all right.
Yes, yes.
At 1 p.m.
Dreams do come true. Sometimes. All right, anything else on the survey? Thank you to everybody that worked on that. I think it was very worthwhile and keeps us on the right track. So now we've got.
Just on the survey real quick,
Yeah.
maybe, and I don't know if you can pull this out of there, but a question would have been, do you think you would have liked to move here sooner? I just think that is, because I've run across a lot of people saying, I wish I would have pulled the pin sooner. I wish I would have made the decision to get out of the house and get to this lifestyle sooner. So if we could, I know it's late
That
for this, but it
But
would
that
be,
also feeds into Ted, where they're talking about like social media, blog posts. That's the kind of stuff where you get that, you find out from people, wish I'd done this sooner, and then you're like, why?
Yeah.
And that's how you are now able to market to somebody who's on the fence, because they're reading that blog post or they're seeing that social media post, and now they're starting to dig in deeper. So that can feed into your marketing.
Ted, that
plan,
was
too.
an odd metaphor. Pull the pin earlier.
I don't know, I went back to another life that I was
Okay, okay,
in.
all right. So our last item, we've got about 15 minutes, but what is the low-hanging fruit that can have an impact meaningfully for this task force to accomplish by May? And while I would love to say, oh, let's do a full draft of a marketing plan for all elements, I just don't see us being in a position to be able to do that by May. So what I'm hearing so far, and maybe there's more things that you guys are thinking of, the marketing website to me is number one. myrossmore.com is equal to number one. What other things are you guys thinking of? Social media presence. I don't know about social media marketing quite yet, but just having social media presence that feeds into what we're doing
If we
otherwise.
had a few minutes too, Dwight.
Yeah.
I thought we could let Adriana talk a little bit
Oh.
about sort of the brand recommendations, which might feed into a lot of what you're talking about here.
Okay, and then we'll get to the other people's comments. Yes, Adriana.
Yeah, thank you. I did have some recommendations and sort of initiatives based on our new mission statement and the vision statement that have been solidified. And so with the top priority target audience being prospective buyers and adult children have similar initiatives. And we've kind of already talked about that, reaching them through digital avenues, like kind of restructuring the websites, like what we spoke about, having 2 different sites. I have all kinds of comments in between both of those, but I think we can get to that as we get, a little more structured on what would go on each site. And then social media updates, as well as I think even just the current website can be updated with the new mission statement and vision statements. Those are relatively easy things to swap out. But I think the sooner we can get the message out that, hey, there's a revamp happening, we're going through an evolution of the brand and the mission. And so putting that on the website, putting that on all of the social media that has been established already, relatively easy things to do. Again, just kind of start slowly moving towards that kind of big overhaul. I think those would be supreme priority. Again, making sure update logos are in all the social media areas. Social media campaign can kind of come a little bit later, but as the website gets updated, it can be as simple as, just posting a blurb from a certain web page and having that on the social media post. Even things like print reach can be, local press releases in the newspaper, whether it be East Bay Times, Rossmore, the newspaper here, things like the Walnut Creek Lifestyle magazines, just again, to kind of start drumming up that press, like this is happening, it's coming down the pipeline, get people excited about it, so that when we do launch this big, new marketing website and my Rossmore website, it's kind of already been talked about. There's a little bit of buzz about that. So wherever we can plant those little seeds of buzz, I think would be a great place to start. And as we develop out, I think that portion is priority. And then, of course, the working with the realtors and having them also understand that the updated initiatives, whether it be presentations at the offices, dropping off new brand guide. There's a brand guide I think I don't know, is there one for Rossmore right now?
No. Well, all around Rossmore a little bit, but not a true brand guide, no.
I think there should be established a true brand guide that includes the mission statement, vision statements, and the values to be established. That includes, the new visual style, the photography type, fonts, all of that should be put together so that that can be presented to people who are marketing Rossmore, such as realtors. And then implementing as we go forward, brand check, as well as checking on, the consistent use of the mission and vision statement. I don't know internally how you currently do that, but having someone sort of be the brand police for what's being established now going forward. And then for current residents, initiative would be like what we discussed, kind of updating the myrossmore.com website. Again, planting those seeds in the newspaper, highlighting something on the Rossmore TV. I think those are relatively attainable things that can happen. The website, I think, is the priority and will take a substantial amount of time to kind of put together, but is a priority in the long term. So next, branding steps, I think, like we talked about, the website values, and then establishing a mood board, which could go with which could lead into the brand guide development.
A mood board, like a mood ring.
Basically, but with, I don't know if you remember, like in the presentation I had, where it kind of has like the color, the look and feel of the brand.
Oh.
That kind of is what is used to establish the brand guide.
Okay. Blue is positive, right?
I think so. It means cool and calm.
I can find it. Do you remember what page it was? There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, there it
There was
is.
some
Yes.
samples on the next few pages of the, something like that, because that'll be used for the new websites or the website revamps as well as for social media graphics.
Mhm.
And so that
The
should
look
all
and
tie
feel.
together. Yeah.
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 Okay.
But I think really, like I said, putting out there, establishing the new mission and vision statement across the board now is a priority, because I think that's been established and it's great. And I think it's just gonna start the ball rolling for everybody to get ready for this new revamp.
So Andriana, what you outlined there is
Yeah.
fabulous. And that's a year's worth of meetings.
Yeah,
And-
basically.
And some of you may be prepared for that. We are not authorized for that, thank God. But yes, that is ultimately where we need to go.
Yeah.
But in the short term, what can we do that has the most impact to be effective at this? Kevin?
In terms of social media, I would just say Facebook, because that's what adult children are looking at, and older residents generally are looking at Facebook. And I think an ambassador program, maybe doing quarterly, large town halls that everybody can come in, don't have to come in, no offense to realtors, but you don't have to come in with a realtor. A lot of people don't want to be pressured by a realtor. I don't have any trouble saying no. I have friends that would never go in with a realtor because they don't want to be called every week. Are you moving to Rossmore? Not that realtors do that, but I think people are worried about, that kind of pressure. And just having a town hall, you can come in and explore Rossmore and take a tour and talk to people and ask questions and,
I think that, and it's hard to say, like, well, what can you exactly do before May? But there should be a short list of core content pieces that do not have to be anything special. They could just have the logo on them, but like an FAQ, a longer description of Rossmore that people could pick up and include, like if somebody says, well, give me a description of what you do, here's 3 paragraphs, 300 words or whatever on it. So that there's maybe, I'll say, 6 to 8 different core content pieces that have real information on them. And I think actually there's some synergy between what we need on the website, because that content is also reflected on the website. But you also need PDFs that you can give to people, give to staff people, give to the realtors, give to prospective buyers, so that has real stuff on it. It's not just, the information. And those things go a long way, because then pieces of those can be fed into other things.
And by the way, I should say that, our goal is to come up with recommendations to the board, not necessarily do all the work. That's where we're counting on Ann and her staff. Yes, I think those are great ideas, but what we want to do is summarize, what are the recommendations that we think should be in place to move us forward?
Well, I was saying that I think needs to be in place. What to say.
Yeah.
What are the answers to the questions?
So I don't know if we're tying up to other objectives that are sort of more business oriented, but are we trying to attract more people to come in and buy in Rossmore? It seems to me, if that is the case, then we should look at low hanging fruit in the geographic area that we're in, and target. So if we're gonna go ahead and do social media, all that can be targeted, right? So we should focus maybe on Alameda County, some of the counties that are really feeding into Rossmore and don't know about Rossmore, and I think it's worth looking into from a business standpoint. Local communities where we could get the word out. There's an awful lot of people that come from Walnut Creek, Lafayette, Alamo, Oakland, Alameda, those areas.
Any other thoughts?
I
Yes.
think
Hi.
I love the discussion, and I was thinking, if, as Linda said, if the goal is to get more people to come live here or like buy a house, then I think it's the most, to me, the discussion was like, we have so many things we want to do, like how do we prioritize, right? And then for us to be able to prioritize, I think it'll be very important for us to know like why people are dropping out or why people are not buying. I think it could be because they don't know, or maybe they know, but they come to the website, it's too complicated, they drop out. Or it could be that they come to the website, they contact you, but somehow the process is too long and they drop out. Or it could be that they go through the last minute, like until like actually buying the house, but then realize like, oh, there were information that was missing and they drop out. I think there's so many reasons.
I
That they
thought
could-
we were gonna
yeah.
do that with the realtors.
Well, actually, we did want to do something with the realtors, and I don't know, there was some initiative that you guys were thinking of with adult children too,
We
right?
were, but there are some very valid reasons why people drop out. One of them is if you try to buy cash in Rossmore, which is one of the only options for buying now, if you're buying in the certain price range all the way up to the expensive condos, you have to qualify. And in order to qualify, you have to have a certain amount of liquid funds in your account, which is 50,000, I believe now. I think they've taken it down from some of our, we're 75. And you have to make 3 to 3.5 times income monthly to qualify. And what that number is the HOA dues, which keep going up, and the monthly taxes. So when we're looking at people why they drop out, they get here and they want to come in, but they don't make 6,000 to 9,000 a month income, so they can't qualify. Even millionaires, I have millionaires that can't qualify because they don't have any kind of stated monthly income that shows that they can pay that amount, and then they have to show it, I think, probably over 3 months. So that's a big barrier. Plus, I believe that 13,500 now is becoming hard for my clients to be able to pay the one-time fee, and I believe it's going up. So it's becoming quite a barrier. Money is becoming quite a barrier.
I think like things like that, it's probably outside of our control, but like there must be reasons where we could probably address by marketing. Or maybe identifying that could help us prioritize like which one.
We are talking about that locally, and the company is giving out sheets saying this is what you need to qualify. This is what you should consider in terms of the economic cost of trying to move in.
And by the way, you're speaking of co-ops. Buy a condo, you don't have to do all that stuff.
No, you don't have to do it, but there's a huge section that are in the, I don't know, 600, 700, 800 range, where you get to the point where people need loans and they can't get them, or there's just people that want to move into Rossmore that used to be able to but can't now, and they're in the $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 range.
Right, which
That's-
is mostly co-ops, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
mostly co-ops.
Yes, yeah. Kevin?
So that 3.5 times the income, that triggered me to move in sooner. I was gonna wait for 3 years to retire, but my monthly income is not gonna be that high. But I'll have a lot of money in the bank. So that triggered me to move in sooner.
Jeff?
One of the recommendations the committee might want to consider sooner than later is if you really want to proceed with the website. The planning committee on Thursday is going to be talking about the capital budget. Finance is going to be talking about it, and the board is going to hopefully adopt it next month. That is not an item included in the current program. Not that we can't bring it later, but as they're all talking about priority of projects and funding, this might be a good recommendation for them to at least have on their radar screen. So if you want to make an actual recommendation, that be included in the list of capital projects, this would be the time to do it.
How much?
Estimate high and
Yeah, I go high.
100.
I'd say at least 100,000.
Kevin?
I'll
you
make a
want-
motion that
Thank you.
we recommend to the planning committee or?
Yes, yeah, we'll start there, yes.
Planning committee that they put $100,000 in the budget for website.
Ted?
I'll second that,
Yes?
but I would like to make an amendment if we could, and is to include a marketing, along with that, a marketing piece for the realtors to be able to have a handout that they can go along with it. So there's 2 pieces of marketing that could be going out at the same time.
Well, but the CapEx is for the website.
Yeah,
So marketing
Then
website.
I'll do that, and then I'll make another motion.
See, there are 2 different budgets.
Yes.
So clarification on the motion, please. So you're recommending to the planning committee that it put 100,000 in the capital budget, period, is what I heard. Did you want to clarify for a specific measure or need?
Kevin, I think you were saying to
For the-
develop a marketing website.
Right.
For Rossmore Walnut Creek.
And
Or
the
to separate the 2 websites.
to separate the
and-
2 websites to create 1 marketing, 1 resident. So 2
Is that okay?
websites.
Is that language? Ted, you all right with that?
Good.
Okay.
I'm sorry, am I adding that last part?
Yeah,
too?
so
Okay, so.
to separate the website.
Develop a marketing website for Rossmore, Walnut Creek, and separate the two websites, create one.
So to create a marketing website and a resident website.
Do you want me to read this back to you? It's quite
Yeah.
lengthy.
I think
Okay,
maybe we
making a
can say-
recommendation to the planning committee that they put away $100,000 in the capital budget to develop a marketing website for Rossmore, Walnut Creek, to separate the two websites, to create a marketing website and a resident website.
Way too much. All right, so
Develop a,
to develop a Rossmore Walnut Creek marketing website and a separate resident website. And kill the rest.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Ted?
Good.
Okay. Further discussion, comments? Okay, roll call?
Walker,
Yes?
Bentley.
Yes.
Dalloway,
Yes.
Color,
Yes.
Register,
Yes.
and Shaw.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
So we have 5 minutes. Let's try to identify that low-hanging fruit that we want to tackle in the next couple months. So here's what I heard. Marketing website, myrossmore.com, ambassador program answers the questions. Does that phrase it properly?
Do we want to add social media,
Social media
Beginning of social
presence,
media.
yes.
minimal social media?
And are we doing something for a handout for realtors?
I think we could start with just the Q&A PDF, get the information. We can make it fancy later.
I like, if I
Yes.
can, I like Adriana's idea about let's get the mission and the vision out there. And I actually have money in my current budget where we could do a flyer that's really kind of promoting that. Here's are the 3 pieces, mission statement, vision statement, here's our brand, this is our direction. We can get it out to the realtors, we can get it out to the community, do the press releases. I can do that within my current budget, if this is where you guys want to go.
I just don't want to be too premature on messaging when we don't have anything to deliver. So I'm with you there, but not until we have something to offer up.
The website is sort of a fundamental center point. If you make the announcement and then nothing happens for 6 months, that's an opportunity lost, I
Yes.
think.
Pranjali?
So can one of the low-hanging fruits be a brand guide like Adriana recommended that this task force puts together for future marketing and messaging?
We need that as a part of website development. Yeah.
Seems like the lowest hanging fruit is to take a look at our website and separate out what should be marketing versus for residents.
Yeah, and
That's the.
it's in there somewhere, yes.
It's the working groups, right?
Kevin?
Are we gonna follow up with the realtors to do any kind of like, not town hall, but like panel discussion with realtors?
Yes. When the timing is right. Again, I mean, that could be a part of what we want to have as a part of our recommendation in May. So yes, we'll put that on the list. I just don't want to be premature with delivering nothing. All right. Anything else? Okay, so we don't need a motion on that, but we can do a straw vote. So the list is, these are the list of things that we're going to accomplish in the next few months. Values, marketing website components, My Rossmore components, ambassador program, answers to questions. Am I saying the right thing?
That's fine.
Is that okay? Social media presence, a brand guide, and realtor town hall. So those are the recommendations that we're trying to flesh out by May. Make sense? All those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous? Thank you. Anything else for the good of Rossmore Walnut Creek? Dropping Golden Rain Foundation and dropping MOD? Okay.
Dropping the word coupon?
Word coupon, yeah.
Yeah.
Wish we could drop mutuals, but we have no control. Linda?
The naming strategy, I do think, naming strategy under the branding really should probably be considered.
And what do you mean by that?
Well,
How we use Rossmore Walnut Creek.
how do you explain what Rossmore is to prospective buyers, and they immediately get flustered when you start saying, well, we're gonna talk to MOD because they're gonna do the maintenance request on this. This you have to take care of by yourself. If you wanna go and you wanna rent your place, you go to member services. The GRF owns all the common buildings and they control the budget for that. So you can't, that's not
So
something we
this
mess
is
with.
what I'm talking about in terms of the questions, is that there needs to be some core content developed around what people need to know. And then that can inform also what goes on the website as well as other communication materials. But until you know, you kind of have to take a stab at like, well, what are the top 30 questions that people know? And we're gonna write one short paragraph to answer each of those in the approved language. So that everybody's giving, like if it's what is an MOD, there is a paragraph that says this is what it is, and everybody says the same thing. And it's in a way that everybody goes, yep, I understand it, it makes sense, we go there. That's the content that I'm talking about.
So
It's
not
not
to throw
just
Mike under the
superficial.
bus here, but could you describe to them your idea, the org?
Yeah, no, I just thought that we needed we have org charts available which show the people in different positions, but I haven't seen any kind of a chart that explains GRF, the mods, the other components of Rossmore in a simple to understand.
And that could be one of those core content pieces.
And it doesn't seem like it'd be that difficult to put together, but maybe it is because nobody's done it yet.
There's been attempts.
So are we adding something to the list?
I mean, I
So
think,
that's inclusive. in
yeah,
what I-
maybe, but I do think the naming of things around here is very,
Oh, so you're suggesting maybe we should move forward with Rossmore Property Management and
Yes.
Rossmore Community
Yes.
Board?
I do think we
Yes.
should think
Or
about that.
did kind of say they wanted us to flush that out, so.
Yes, yeah, okay, all right, so well, we haven't taken it that far. So we
Not
will.
yet.
Not yet, so we will. Okay, so for next meeting, what can we do and tackle in terms of that agenda? We won't take a lot of time here because we're running over, but it seems to me, what would people like to be interested in fleshing out first? Marketing,
Website.
website components? Any volunteers for the marketing website components? Mike? Linda, you would be important with that.
Okay.
Anybody else? And- Okay, be careful you don't overcommit.
It's all just one project.
Kathleen, is that what you volunteered for?
We all volunteer.
Okay, you're volunteering for what?
Okay, then myrossmore.com. Kevin,
I have too much right now.
really?
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else?
That's fine. I'll switch. I'll go over, we don't need
No.
that many people to do it. I'll do my last one.
And I'll be on my Rossmore.
I will remove Kathleen for the components for the website and then add you to my Russmore as a volunteer.
Just
for
gonna
that one.
volunteer for one thing.
Yes. And Ted, you wanted to do that one
My
as well?
Rossmore.
You can't wait.
And are you sitting in on that?
Any help that either group, if you want me to sit in with you, I'm happy to do that, just let me know.
So how about social media presence? Would you guys tackle that?
We could do that or a brand guide. Even.
Okay, all right,
Both.
maybe both. You have some good information on the social media side. You've already done some research and the SEO information. Is that okay?
Would that include some realtor websites as well, like 55 Places has great information?
Or, well, let's talk afterwards about
Sure,
what, okay,
yeah.
okay. That's probably more than enough to tackle for next week. I would
Next
like,
month?
or next month.
Ooh.
Maybe we should go weekly. I would like to see the ambassador program start to get fleshed out a little bit. Maybe Ann, you and I can talk about that.
Okay.
Because it's probably gonna take a club format and, oh, Kevin, okay, we're on.
Who-
All right.
Who wanted to do that?
So
Kevin,
Kevin, Dwight and Ann.
And me.
Okay. All right,
Next meeting is not here.
It's a different room.
oh yes,
Oh,
Mulligan, we're in the Mulligan room next week.
Oh, that's
or
gonna be
next
tight.
month.
That's gonna be tight.
That's gonna be tight.
Yes.
I will be in Las Vegas.
Oh,
So I
that's
can-
right.
I can-
You've contributed to making it.
Yeah,
less
make it a
tight.
little
Thank you.
bit-
I can zoom in.
Yes, yeah. Okay, all right, anything else for the good of Rossmore Walnut Creek? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.